Welcome to another edition of Mining Now. I'm your host, Roy Slack, and we are live from Las Vegas in Mine Expo. And I have the pleasure of talking today with Jock Voelzke, who's the president of Surestrike. Jock, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And first of all, how's Mine Expo?
It's been very good. It's been very busy, as you can tell by the raspy voice. It's been very good for me so far.
Yeah.
We're doing well.
I mean, and we're in the big hall.
We are.
And big gear.
Nice toys.
Everything's big.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And before we get into Surestrike, I always like to learn a little bit about our guests. So Give us a little bit about your background.
Oh, gosh. I've been in this industry now for 3 decades-ish. Prior to that, I was a little bit on Wall Street, in different industry, and I got into this industry entirely by accident, actually. Was at my house, enjoying friends, having a good time, and one of my friends actually was with a crushing and screening manufacturer who was looking for somebody. I was ready to make a transition out of what I was doing at that point, 30 some odd years ago now. And it just, interestingly enough, fell into place, and the rest just kind of took off. And as we continued to move through the crushing and screening, and companies, as you know, in this industry, companies get bought here and there. And ours ended up getting bought by a very large multinational company, which was great. Company's great, did wonderful things for us, but I'm not a big in the corporate world. I very much like the small family-owned type businesses.
Yeah.
And that led me to one of our, a dealer of mine who'd been a dealer for 20 some odd years for us, said that the owner of Surestrike, the person who started it back in 95, was looking to transition out and retire. And over the course of probably a year and a half, myself and my partners ended up owning Surestrike, and it's been an amazing thing for us. I mean, it really filled a niche that I saw, that I've had seen for 2 decades in the crushing and screening side, that ended up, when I saw the product, it resonated with me, because for so long, and this maybe kind of ties into a little bit about Surestrike rather than myself, but for years, I used to see the issues people had on the front end of their process with the oversized, the reject material, and just how it was almost that penalty box, if you will, for people. They really didn't want to go there. It wasn't very productive. It was always a drain on resources. It wasn't very profitable for companies. And to me, that never made sense. If you take a look from then on in a plant, it's always been about optimization, refining its productivity, profitability. But I never saw that on the front end of any of the plants in the mines or the aggregate side that we dealt with. So when I ran across Surestrike and was fortunate enough to be introduced to the previous owner, it just really rang a chord with me. It's like, this can solve this problem.
Well, you got me thinking from a mining engineer's point of view, and when we focus on fragmentation, there's all kinds of things we focus on. All we try to do is reduce the amount of oversize, and we don't really look at the solution, like how do you deal with it?
Exactly.
Other than to move it one side and very labor-intensive methods.
And I saw that for years.
So that's a niche that you saw as a supplier within a certain part of the industry.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I saw that for years, where everyone had that same issue.
Yeah.
And they kept trying to, be it blasting or whatever their method was at the front end, kept trying to shrink that to eliminate the oversize, rather than optimizing and figuring out how to make that particular byproduct profitable for the plant.
Yeah.
So it's been a great ride.
Yeah. Good. So let's talk about Surestrike now, because people may not know what we're talking about. We could ramble on for a long time, but let's talk specifically about Surestrike and the products that you manufacture.
Yeah, so we make a hydraulic impact hammer, different than your standard hydraulic hammer that probably everyone's familiar with. The one you hear, the one that you see in all the places that you end up in the mining, aggregate, and industrial sectors, where really what they're trying to do is vibrate the material. They operate at a very high clip, 250, 300 cycles a minute, such that they can vibrate the material and cause enough stress in it to break it, move on, and process the material.
Weaken it till it falls apart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We take a different philosophy. Our philosophy is we don't need to be that complicated. We just need to hit it hard enough to make it do what we want it to do.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we do. I mean, we've got hammers that range anywhere from 25,000 foot-pounds of striking force all the way up to 150,000 foot-pounds.
Oh,
Typically, what you see in the steel mills, breaking reject steel so that they can process it, and re-interject it back into the plant.
Yeah. So that's something that I just clued into before when we were talking. You were saying one of the markets is steel.
It is.
And I got thinking about you're breaking steel. Like it's one thing to break rock, but now you're into a whole other ballgame.
It is, and typically if you take a look at those, we're a little bit outside the mining realm, but similar to mining in a lot of aspects. Once you get outside of the normal way of doing things, that you really are limited to drop balls. Hydraulic hammers they just don't play in that arena.
Yeah. They're
just not designed for that.
Yeah.
So really you're designed to drop balls and or just what do we do with it to get rid of it? We solved that issue. We got very specific with drop balls. There's not only safety issues, but there's also accuracy issues and various other things because, just if you've ever seen it, raise it up on a crane and let her go and hope you hit the spot.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where we can take that and we can get very specific with exactly where we're trying to break that and exactly what we're trying to do with the material. So it's a very big market for us, although it's a somewhat limited market.
Yeah.
On the mining side, similar scenario. When you take a look at some of the mining that we've done, around the world, copper, zinc, diamonds, lithium, iron ore, there isn't an arena that we don't play in from that standpoint. But a lot of their oversize is the byproduct of just how they have to mine to get what they're trying to get. So we could end up with 200-ton rocks that they need to figure out how to process to work through their plant. That's difficult for the standard product that you typically see in the marketplace. Yeah. And that's where we shine.
Not designed in, like I say, when you look at designing the infrastructure for a plant, you're not really designing for that 1 or 2 or 3% of that oversize.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where the versatility comes in. We were talking earlier about some of the things that make a successful attachment for customers.
Yeah.
And having that versatility to where you could have a little piece that's fairly easy to break all the way up to a pickup that's enormous, that's very hard.
That's a problem in more ways than one. It's taking up space. It's in the way. It's hard to move.
It is. And it gets difficult, for me to feel comfortable telling people, well, you just need different attachments for different things.
Yeah.
Why can't you make a product that works for all the different things that you could happen, that could happen throughout your normal processing?
Yeah. So I'm going to ask a question in 2 parts about your market because you're based in the U.S.
We are.
But you talked about a global, you're selling product beyond the U.S.
We do. We do.
So where are you and where are you expanding to?
Well, we're all over.
Yep.
We're out throughout Europe, Africa, Middle East, not as much Asia, but definitely all through the Americas as well.
Yeah.
Our predominant focus has always been North America.
Yeah.
Central America and South America are good for us as well.
Yeah.
It largely, for us comes down to I'm very big on making sure that our customers have an ability to get serviced once they have a product.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you sell a product. It's all a matter of what you can do to make sure that they are optimized with our clientele.
Yeah.
And moving that forward. So if we're not in an area where we have a strong distributor and or somebody that can service them, typically we shy away from it. It's just, even though there are probably people there that would like the product, if we can't service it, I don't feel good about, putting it in a place where we can't take care of somebody.
Yeah. I think about this equipment and the power it has, and it does need service and it does need maintenance, just like any piece of equipment.
Yeah.
And so if you're not, I totally understand that if you're not there.
And it's fascinating from the standpoint of we make a product that's challenging to manufacture. Okay. And from a manufacturing perspective, there's a lot of moving parts to building one of our hammers.
Yeah.
That's by design so that it's really simple in the field. Okay. It's by design so that when somebody's running it, they don't have to send it somewhere special to take care of standard maintenance and or even major maintenance.
Yeah.
They can do it right there in the plant.
Yeah.
So that's something that we are proud of at Surestrike.
Yeah.
It has its challenges along the way from an engineering perspective. You can appreciate that. But at the same time, it's super important for me that the person running the excavator understands the product, knows how to operate it, but not just knows how to operate, but it's easy for them to maintain it so that they can shine and do their job, the best of their ability.
So you've got an equipment series, and so I'm a new client.
Sure.
Okay. And I assume you'll want to know about the rock we're trying to break. You'll want to know about the equipment we have on site that we need to adapt to.
Correct.
So what's that process?
Simpler than you might think.
Okay.
The first one is exactly what you talked about. It's just, what type of material do you have? How big is it? What size do you need to take it to? What are you trying to accomplish overall? Once we have a feel for that, then that puts us in time, a space of knowing what size is going to work for them.
Yeah.
And then we take it the next step, which is, what are the carriers that you have that you want to use, and make sure those align.
Yeah.
We see it. It's not uncommon. I'm sure every manufacturer sees this, where we need this unit, but they only have this to put it on, and that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So it's trying to find that combination of what model is going to do the best for the customer, but also at the same time is going to work for the equipment that they have to use it with.
So you're not going to put the largest impact hammer on a pickup truck.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm exaggerating,
and
obviously.
watch it tip over.
Yeah.
That's a more common request than you would imagine. But it is important, from our perspective too, because when you take a look at the philosophy we have as far as what we want to see for our customers, if we can't put a model in there that's going to accomplish what they need to accomplish and do it in a very economical, productive, and efficient way, we won't sell it. It's just not what we do. It's not who we are.
And I totally get that. For a background in contracting, give me the scope of work in as much detail as you can. We'll figure out the best way to do it. And if we can't do it, we'll help you
try and find something that works for you.
Yeah.
That's, to us, that's more important. And we've had customers come back 3 or 4 years later, having done that, having steered them a different direction.
Yeah.
We've had them come back 3 or 4 years later and say, okay, now we have the right equipment. Yeah. We would like to do this. And, we appreciate the fact that at that particular time, you didn't just let us do something that wasn't in our best interest.
Yeah. No, it's good karma and it's good business, right?
It's just good. It's taking care of people the way you should be taking care of.
So the SS series of impact hammers, I don't know a lot of detail about it.
Sure.
But I'm assuming you go from something small to big. Is that
we do?
Too simple?
No, it's absolutely right on.
Yeah.
The SS series started in 2016, 15, with some significant design changes from the older series.
Okay.
And also adding some larger sizes, which took us into the industrial sector.
Okay.
But it's just exactly what you said. We start from pretty simplistic individual. So we start from the SS 25, hits with 25,000 foot-pounds, to the 40, to the 50, the 80, the 110, the 150. And it's as simple as that.
Okay. Now I understand the numbering system.
Yep. The numbering system is just how hard it hits.
Okay.
We try and keep it. I try and keep it simple for me.
Yeah. It's good. So you innovated or you modified the product.
We did.
A few years ago, 8 years ago, 2016.
Yeah, roughly 8 years ago.
So what's next for Surestrike? Is it about expanding market? Is it about innovating, or a little bit of everything?
It is about expanding market. I got asked years ago, probably 7 years ago now, how come, if you take a look at our business, probably 50% of our business is repeat business. It's people getting a larger one, people getting additional ones.
Yeah.
It's just once they use it, once they run it, once they understand it, they really never look back.
Yeah.
Okay. testament to the product, testament to our team,
Yep.
and doing a good job. At the same time, I was asked, how come there isn't one of these in every single quarry and mine on the planet?
Yeah.
And it's largely because, for years we were the best kept secret going. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're a small family owned business and didn't want to be, the size of what you see in here at the show.
Yeah.
There's a happy medium there. A happy medium for us of being big enough to take care of the masses of, all the multinationals and all the big mining companies that we do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, being small enough to be able to personally help them with some of their needs, and make sure they get the personal attention that we've always desired to give them. I come from the corporate world, and at some point, right, wrong, or indifferent, a lot of times in the corporate world, that gets lost. You get so big that the personal attention to taking care of people's needs sometimes gets glossed over.
Yeah.
That's never going to be what we are and who we are, which is why we stay, a medium size.
Yeah.
To be able to take care of that and do that.
Well, that's a challenge when you've got a good product, and there's a natural tendency to grow.
Yep.
But you've got a team there that is like your family. I'm talking from experience too.
Yeah.
And you can get to a certain point where you're growing for the wrong reasons.
You lose. Yeah, you lose sight of why you started it.
Yeah.
And why you do what you do.
And then you talked about your service model as well, which is another thing that has to grow with you.
Yeah, it does.
If you can't support your clients or customers, then
correct,
you've got a problem.
Yeah, and that's a conversation that we've definitely had. I personally have had it with a lot of customers overseas,
mm-hmm.
where it's like, yeah, we're great in this market, we're good here. Down where you're at, we really don't have anyone that's aligned with us and taking care of people.
Yeah.
So, not that we wouldn't take care of you. I just need you to know that we probably need to do it a little bit differently than you're used to.
Yeah.
Because I don't have somebody that can just be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, that might require some extra parts, that might require some extra training, things like that, just to make sure that they're taken care of and they have the best experience that we can provide them.
I got thinking about that and about our discussion before about if you were set up that customers could actually manufacture some parts, and from a virtual space you could support them.
It's the future.
Yeah.
And it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you take a look at some of the things you see here, even at the last Con Expo, along the way, you some of the automation, some of the autonomy, some of the 3D printing and the various things that are right now fairly expensive, because it's the front end of the technology, which is typically always the case.
Yeah.
But over the next, 5-10 years, that's going to become very economical. And from a parts perspective, I can absolutely see a day where rather than us stocking it and having the parts, we just have the 3D printers at all the sites, mine sites. And when they need a part, they call it in for us. We dial it right in and they print it out same day.
Yeah.
It's coming. It's going to be a great thing. It's going to be great for the customers.
Yeah.
It's going to give them exceptional service that isn't on anyone's radar right now, but it's coming. So.
Okay. Well, we've been talking about Surestrike. I would love to have another hour with you to talk about leadership, but that's a whole other topic. But for our audience, any final thoughts? Anything you want to leave with them?
No, I mean, from my standpoint, I take a look at the industry, and I think the industry is. I've been in it for so long that it's exceptional. The people in it are exceptional. I would only challenge people to not take what to me has always been the status quo. When something doesn't make sense, there is a way to take that to the next level and actually make that, productive, profitable, easy for the operators and all that. So rather than, for me, my only final thought would be, don't take the status quo as the status quo. When you think something could be better, let's make it better as an industry.
Very good.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah. I really enjoyed the conversation, Jock.
Thanks.
And for our audience, we've been speaking with Jock Voelzke, who's the president of Surestrike. And we've been coming to you live from Mine Expo in Las Vegas. And if you want to get in touch with Jock, you can get in touch with him through LinkedIn. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Mining Now.